starting stream, starting stream, starting stream. All right, we are back, baby. No, we're not back. Yes, we back. Okay. Oh, man. All right, well, that stream just cut out, but we're starting again. Let's do this. Let me pull it up. Let me get it going. All right. Don't forget to like the stream. Like the stream. We're back, baby. We're back. It's Friday, baby. I'm just kidding. We're back. I don't know what's going on. Fingers crossed it doesn't keep doing it. So if you guys missed that recap, I don't even know what I was saying before it completely shut down. RIP to the stream, I guess. We're here, yeah? Basically, Ethan was talking about denims and how children don't form memories. And now we're back again. I think the issue, okay, this is what I was going to say before the stream completely shut down. I was going to say the issue I'm finding with Ethan is he keeps wanting like Reddit to be held accountable or someone to be held accountable. But these content, like we know as content creators, we get harassed, stalked, doxxed, death threats. We know the legal system can't do anything about it. And as much as we want these platforms to, I think they do try their best, but they fail. They also don't do their best, depending if it's like Elon's Twitter, then at that point, he's not even going to try. So I don't understand why Ethan is going after Reddit instead of going after like policy holders in a sense. Like, okay, so what do you guys think about if people want to be on the internet, they have to have like an ID in a sense or like a connection to their real life? Like I don't think death threats should be normalized. I don't think telling people to go, harassing people or doxing people should be normalized. I think we need real legislative like reactions to this. I think we need policy. I think we need some sort of way to move society into rehabilitation. But this goes back to people like treating people kindly, right? Like Ethan, no offense, in my mind also makes like pretty like borderline harassment content about people because he's so obsessed. But at the same time, calling CPS isn't a joke. You can't just, one, it takes resources from people. And two, it's very serious to call on people's families, So there has to be something there that is bigger than just like Reddit holding people accountable, right? I also don't trust Ethan in the same way that I don't trust Asmin or anybody else to hold content websites accountable since they went after Twitch for reasons that I'm not sure were valid, but there should be something done as we progress to keep people accountable in different ways. Chad says he started going after FD for liking Noah's video. First of all, Noah's video was great. Second of all, I did see FD Signifier tell he made me laugh this morning. He said, hold on, I shared it to my Discord because I was cracking up. FD says to H3 Productions and his fans, I'm sorry you're in the middle of a drama cycle. I hate that some people called CPS on you for no reason, but get your fans out my mentions and DMs before I turn you into a song. And I was like, okay, Noah's video was great. And it is true. If you support Israel in any capacity, ultimately you are supporting the genocide of Palestinians. And Ethan has come out in his support for Israel in every capacity, short of joining the IDF himself. So as much as Ethan wants to say like he's not okay with what Israel is doing, saying you're going to go to Israel to show people the good of Israel that no one sees because of Hassan's bubble, like, please. You know what I mean? Like, please. So, yeah, like I said, my channel has given Ethan so much compassion and so much leeway. We have tried to see his side. We were empathizing with him on October 7th. Like, we were so compassionate towards him. He has not given truly 10% of that amount of compassion to Palestinian people experiencing a genocide. He hasn't. And look, I was slow to react to the genocide myself because I was honestly feeling very overwhelmed and confused. But I had to do minimal amounts of research to be like, oh shit, no, this is like serious, bros. And that's coming from somebody who like, I felt like know more than Ethan, but didn't know more than people who were really keeping watch. People knew it was a genocide so early on because it wasn't early on for them. For them, it wasn't new. And for them, it wasn't like, but for me, it's like really hard as an American to process that it's happening, but it is happening. Palestinians are being targeted in a really disgusting and horrible way by Israel. It's really bad. And it's not a joke. So for Ethan to even hint, even say something like, you should come to Israel. Israel's great. That is so offensive. The fact that the US is now on a watch and on a travel warning for LGBT people, the fact that Germany put out a warning to LGBT people not to come to America, the fact that my partner is like, you're not going to America, dude. Like, you know what I mean? And Croatia just made gay marriage unconstitutional. So it's not like Croatia is pro-LGBT, but I feel safer here. You know, we have to have conversations about the fact that right now, America is turning into a very scary place. Trump recently put on Truth Social the pink triangle, which, you know, Hitler used to signify like gay and queer people as something other. So like, we need to have large conversations, right? We need to have large conversations about these things and why Ethan isn't going to get the most empathy from people, even when he's the victim, right? So he needs to go to the right people to seek out that empathy, you know? Chat says, I think the framing you're using is a little disingenuous. Is he not allowed to see family in Israel? Okay, I'm gonna ban you if you don't understand what I'm saying. Ethan didn't want to go see family in Israel. He specifically said on stream, I want to show you the internet, how good Israel is, because the internet, like Hassan, twists Israel into something it's not. So you better get your facts straight before you come into my stream, because that is not the argument. He didn't say he was going to go visit family. That would have been fine. He specifically said he wanted to show the internet how good Israel is. That is very fucking different. It is very different. Very different. That is Ethan doing propaganda, whether he knows it or not. And I honestly think he's too stupid to know it, which is not an excuse. Your ignorance at this point is more of a sin than a well-educated person making a horrible decision. Because your ignorance is so bad that you are doing propaganda and you don't even know it, but have the audacity to go at Hassan and everybody else and FT Signifier and everybody else and Noah Samson and everybody else. And this is why ignorance is truly not bliss. It is hell for everyone who has to deal with you. Your ignorance is killing people. Congratulations.
The past 2 years about this snark community.
With him going on to say that not only has Reddit not helped, but he believes they're protecting these snark groups. And that in part because he's tried to get these pages taken down, but that's resulted in no long-term success. And this is other major creators have been able to get them removed for harassment. So he thinks there's a double standard, with him also explaining.
This is one of my favorite examples. We made a subreddit called Snark to make fun of snark subreddits in general. And the community was actually starting to pick up steam and become pretty active. Well, it was removed. Why was it removed? For harassment.
With Ethan then claiming that the community is reopened, but the new moderator was also a moderator for one of the H3 snark pages. And with that, arguing that these platforms are protecting people who go after it.
So here we are, where it's acceptable to call child protective services on people as an act of political protest on a website, Reddit.
Okay, I'm confused about who called. If Bad and Panetta called, Bad and Panetta should be in trouble for that, right? Whoever called CPS on Ethan should be in trouble, right? Because they obviously did it as a troll. I don't know if they did it as political protest. I'm a little confused. How do we know they did it? How do we know it wasn't just an internet troll, right? Which, by the way, is bad enough. But how do we know that it was for political protest? How do we know that, right? Was it harassment or political protest? I feel like this matters.
In which they do not care, they protect it, they enable it. At what point has this gone too far, and how much worse can it get before something is done about it?
Right, and as far as the reaction to that video, I mean, if you go into the comments, you have a lot of people agreeing with him that it's just gone too far, that targeting children is not okay. Right, and that sentiment appearing to come from both people that support him as well as people who have historically not liked him. Folks writing things like, regardless of people's opinions on Ethan, you would think everyone could agree that getting CPS involved is unhinged.
I mean, it is. That's why that person needs to be held accountable, right? Cheemsaw Man says, good morning, Brittany. Looking forward to today's stream. I feel bad for Ethan because coming for his kids seems hella OD overdone. Is OD overdone? I think it's more than that. I think like, I genuinely think if you call CPS, if you call cops on people as a prank, as a troll, as any of that, there should be serious consequences. Like serious, there has to be something. I don't believe in punishment, but we can't run a good, helpful society that does this. Now, the question is who did it? Because I certainly would never fucking do it. I couldn't even imagine how bad of a person you would have to be to do this. Like, you know what I mean? It reminds me of that guy Phil covered a while back about the guy who called 911 and said he was going to shoot up a school like 100 times or something. Like, how how horrible of a person do you have to be? And I don't mean this in a judgment sense. I mean, like, something's wrong with you to some extent. Like, you developed incorrectly as you were raised. Like, you as a baby grew up to be a person who thought this was a good idea. Like, we need serious intervention for these people, right? But like, there's something about that that's really, really bad. Like, bad for everybody. It's not even about Ethan. It's about minority communities being targeted by neighbors. It's about our own kids being possibly taken away from us because we are reaffirming their trans identity. It's about the fact that people think they have the right to question whether or not we can raise our kids in circumstances where we're doing just fine. You know?
There is focusing on the fact that whoever called CPS diverted resources away from someone who may have actually needed them. Though then all of that, while on the opposite side of the internet, including on some of those snark pages, you have people questioning the validity of Ethan's CPS story. You then also had some people that Ethan called out responding, or Bad Empanada posting these on his Instagram story, but then also calling out Ethan saying,
hold on, Phil. Whoa.
called out responding, or Bad Empanada.
When Ethan asks who reported him to CPS, thank you to our brave troops for ensuring that children are protected from threats to their well-being. Bad Empanada needs to be blocked from the internet. You know, like, these jokes are not funny. Like, this isn't funny. Nothing about encouraging this is good. Bad Empanada is like a bad person. You're a bad person. Even making these jokes is like, this is why it's so hard to be a good person. What good person is like memeing on Ethan? Like, this isn't good. You know, this is bad.
Posting these on his Instagram story, but then also calling out
Ethan Klein, this guy called me a name in an Instagram comment. Here's all his personal info, his family. Here's his employer. Make sure to contact them, everyone. Also, Ethan. Yeah. And by the way, Ethan is a very bad person. Ethan harasses and threatens to dox people all the time. Ethan was on his stream the other day, literally saying like, oh, I wonder how your mom's going to feel about what you're posting on the internet. That's crazy. Ethan is unhinged. That's why I say I have no empathy for Ethan. I feel bad for his kids, but I don't feel bad for Ethan. I want to make this abundantly clear. I feel 0% bad for Ethan Klein. Just like Ethan feels zero bad for all of the harassment he's done to other content creators. But I do think what was done was unjust because it's a misuse of services. It's scary for the children and it's just inappropriate. It's bad. It's bad for community. Okay. So Bad Empanada is trying to be like, gotcha, Ethan. It's not funny. Okay. Streamer humor and streamer edginess. Like, we have got to get rid of it. Also, Ethan, it's wrong to express concerns about my kids to CPS after I said on my stream that they contracted Giardia from my dog and then went on to say that that was because they ate dog shit. Like, I think this is why I did want to get into this, because it's obviously like two grown-ups who do not care about anything they're talking about. All they care about is winning, getting one on the other, and being who's the edgiest. This is not good for society. Neither Bad Empanada or Ethan Klein, like, they deserve each other. I'm not interested in either of them as thinkers or contributors to the community.
And saying that he encourages his fans to go after his ops online and reveals their personal information too. Additionally, you had Hassan reacting on stream to the claim that his fans were behind the CPS call by saying,
why in the ever-loving would I ever do that, or even one of my fans would ever do that? He said that? Is there a thing that happens on the planet to Ethan that I am not responsible for? Let me tell you why I would never do that. Because I'm not Ethan Klein.
Yeah, Chad is saying Ethan and Hila both said that it was probably Trisha stans. What was up with that? I also heard that, but I don't know what that's about. You know what I mean? What does Trisha have to do with any of this?
Okay. That's right. I would never in a million years entertain such a thing. Never, ever, ever. The fact that people have done that is also insane. I don't know who did it. I don't know what they did. But the notion that, like, I would ever entertain that is...
The mods of Snark were Trisha fans, I think. Oh. Huh.
Insane. It's pure projection. It's quite literally projection. I have not done a fraction of what he has done to me.
With Hassan then saying that he's made it clear that he thinks snark pages are problematic. Right, he ended up echoing a lot of that in a statement to us today, writing, I think random people calling CPS on a content creator is insane. It's completely unacceptable. I assume he has nannies and maids to take care of the kids when he's working. Wasting government resources and possibly freaking out little kids of a YouTuber you don't like is gross behavior. I hope Ethan and his family are okay. Now, ultimately, as a recording, that is where we are. Of course, keep in mind with the people that we're talking about being content creators, it's moving at the speed of the internet. But for now, now what I want to do is say, that is a story. That's the news. I'd love to know your thoughts. And I do want to share a bit of my opinion here. I can't speak to the back and forth between Ethan Klein, Hassan Piker, or any of these other creators involved. But what I can say is that to call CPS to harass a creator or someone you do not like is genuinely fucking insane. It is disgusting. It is wrong. It's not just a waste of government resources. I would argue this is just a different version of trying to swat someone. If someone gets swatted, you want to harass, you want to scare them. Worst case scenario, someone gets fucking killed. If someone knowingly calls CPS to harass, they're trying to harass you. They're trying to scare you. And then worst case scenario, the system is fucked and you lose your family. And I'd want to see the people responsible for fake CPS calls punished in a similar fashion to swatting calls. I mean, how many stories have we covered over the years where there are children that are genuinely being abused and mistreated and need help, and you're fucking taking resources away because you want to harass a YouTuber? That's not warranted. It doesn't get validated or get a pass whether I like the person or I fucking hate the person. Ultimately, that is the story. And then separately, my opinion. And then of course.
Okay, so like I guess Ethan said that the CPS worker said somebody in the home was worried about the kids and called. Okay, so minus all the trolls and everything, obviously this is like a huge problem. I don't think you should be calling CPS on families unless you genuinely think there's a need for it, obviously. Again, to cover this story is something that's bigger and about society, not just about Ethan Klein. Like if we want a better society, we have to do better. And so I do think anyone contributing to amplifying this as funny or within reason or not that big of a deal, like I think you're part of the problem. You can't call CPS on people's families unless you genuinely think there's a problem. It's not funny. Okay? Like nothing about it is funny. What a streamer says in stream doesn't necessarily like warrant you reacting. There are enough people to get involved. There are enough ways to do this, but I think it causes a lot of issues, right? I think Ethan Klein, the one thing Ethan has going for him is that he's always been a really good dad, according to the way that he and other people talk about his parenting. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't see him with his kids, but I've never gotten the impression that Ethan Klein would seriously put his kids in danger in any capacity, right? And so it feels really strange that the internet feels so, sure that this is even in any way a reason to call CPS. A story Ethan was saying so casually and kind of so funny because like shit happens, literally. Right? But I don't think anyone actually thought Ethan's kids were in danger. I don't think anyone ever thought that. Right? So I don't know who called, but it's not funny and I don't like it. Does anyone have any thoughts on this before we move on? Any thoughts? Anything we want to say? Chat says, I'm a teacher. I think what Ethan said is enough to report to CPS. People online don't know him. CPS said it was somebody in his life. So then the question is, why did Ethan bring it to the internet? Why did Ethan think it was somebody from the internet? Nobody needed to know this was happening. How did we even know CPS was called to his house? Would we have known if Ethan didn't tell us? Do you know what I mean? Is this like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. And I don't think Ethan would fake a call by CPS. Anyone who thinks Ethan would fake this, Ethan feels too in his feelings to fake shit. He feels more like the person who at most becomes a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think he fakes shit. I don't believe that. I have no reason to think Ethan Klein would fake CPS getting called on him. That just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just don't get that. I don't get why we would even think Ethan would fake this. Chat says, what's your opinion on taking it to the internet? I think that's the issue. Is like, why is Ethan bringing this to the internet? Does he really think the internet is responsible for it happening? Like maybe it is, but I can't believe he didn't go the legal route first. Talk to lawyers, talk to his doctors. You know what I mean? Make sure that everything, I don't know why he thought to bring it to the internet. Why do we need to know this? Why do we need to know what just happened? Unless it is for sure and he's positive an internet troll. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know why he would do that. To spread awareness? Well, now is not the time to spread awareness. You don't know what's true. Ethan doesn't know who it came from. Do you know what I mean? It feels like his kids would be more in danger because now he's going to give the internet ideas of how to ruin his life even worse. You know, it just doesn't make sense to come to the internet with it. And then if he's blaming YouTubers, which Chad is saying, that's even worse. Like, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes online, you should wait. Because I don't get it. You know, I don't get, if it came down to my kids, I think, yes, I would eventually probably have to make a public statement, but it feels like, I don't know, it feels very strange. Chad said, what if it's the lady he fired recently? It could be. It could be the employee he had that he fired. They could have been angry and decided to do it. I mean, humans are going to human. People lie. It's just the same probability that you guys think Ethan could be lying about this, the same probability somebody in his life is lying, same probability it's a troll on the internet. Do you know what I mean? It feels so obvious to me that humans are just liars and drama whores. So somebody did it, and I don't think the person who did it was probably being very authentic. I highly doubt it. You know, I just really, really doubt it. Chet says, exactly, if it's real, why is he making content? No, no, that's not, okay. You said that's why I don't think it can be true. He's being so unserious about the care of his children. You're misreading the social cues here, guys. Ethan is very emotionally distraught over it. Like, parents rape their own children, so it's not that far-fetched to think they would make a YouTube video. Like, I just want to remind people, when people say, like, you can't be that serious about your kids, people rape their kids. So I just want to be abundantly clear with you to wake the fuck up and say that that doesn't mean something isn't true or something is true. Ethan has a reputation, he's had it for multiple years, where he becomes emotionally entangled in something, takes one idea, runs with it into the wall, even if it's bad information. Okay? So this happening, name a time when Ethan has lied the way like other YouTubers have lied that make you think he would fake a CPS call. And I'm not saying I know that he didn't. It just feels so anti his MO. Name one time Ethan's ever lied about something, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have that reputation online. That's not Ethan's reputation. It never has been. Ethan's is over dramatic, over emotional, taking bad information and running into a wall. That's Ethan. So that's why Ethan, out of everyone, is probably definitely somebody who had CPS called and definitely somebody who ran into a wall. Chad said, why do we assume he's acting in good faith? I think Ethan genuinely thinks he's doing good. I do not think Ethan is a grifter. I do not think Ethan is intentionally lying about anything. I think Ethan is genuinely stupid, and he genuinely thinks he's right, which is worse in some ways. You know what I mean? You know, what do you think Ethan should do from here? I just don't know how he's going to stop being the way he's always been. I don't worry. Humans are going to human. And this is Ethan. Like, this is Ethan's MO. Honestly, it's hard to say what he should do because obviously the thing I think everyone should do is go to therapy, deconstruct, face ourselves, do better, be healthy. But Ethan doesn't want to deconstruct. So there are other issues I'm concerned about, which we're going to get into, because our next story is about a serious issue. It's about a real serious issue. Like, it's not even funny how serious this is. Okay? We're going to talk about Mahmoud Khalil, a university student, Columbia, I believe, who was arrested for protesting on behalf of Palestinians who are being genocided. You want to talk about serious issues? This is serious. And we're once again going to rely on the Philip DeFranco to fill us in because he's so good at summarizing things.
ICE has arrested and is trying to deport a well-known Palestinian activist, despite the fact that he has a green card. A move that many experts say is a violation of free speech rights under the First Amendment. Right?
And this is why when people said, why did you move to Croatia and not the US? Do you know how much harder it would be to immigrate to the US with my husband? It was easier for us to make a home in Croatia, which has been very kind to me and very open to me. They made the process very easy, to start that process. It's going to be years long, but at least I'm allowed to be here. Versus America, it is so much harder for us to have done the paperwork, bring him over, it's so much worse. And look what happens. God forbid my partner was on a green card. His wife is an American citizen who's pregnant, right? And you want us to come to America where, God forbid, if my partner and I, and you best believe, if we were there, we'd be there protesting with people. Okay, I would be there. Probably not him because he'd be here on a green card. That's the problem. The fact is that if I was there in America, I would be protesting along with these people. Okay, and maybe I wouldn't have brought my partner because I would have been scared they would have deported him. In the same way that they kidnapped this person, arrested this person, even though he's married to an American citizen and is here legally.
And this is also incredibly significant because it appears to mark the first publicly known arrest under Trump's broader promise to revoke student visas and deport non-citizen students who joined pro-Palestine campus protests last year, with him claiming that the students no longer had the right to stay in the country because they supported Hamas. And while this is something that Trump has been promising for a while, this latest news notably comes after he brought this whole thing to the next level last week with him writing on Truth Social. All federal funding will stop for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protests. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came, and adding American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested. Though this, as many have noted, that the White House hasn't really clarified what they consider to be an illegal protest, given the fact that these activities are usually protected under the First Amendment. But regardless, the administration has made it clear that Columbia is its first major target, with it announcing on Friday that it had canceled $400 million in grants and contracts to the school, and now going after one of the most prominent protest leaders there. And specifically, the activist in question is Mahmoud Khalil, a former Columbia graduate student with Palestinian heritage who graduated with a master's in December.
And I'm going to link right now in the chat, and I'm going to link in my Discord a petition you can sign. Sends a letter automatically to, demand the freedom of Mahmoud. So if you guys want to participate, I've already signed it. Lots of people have already signed it. And it will help. As much as it sounds silly and it's not going to help, numbers speak. Millions of people have already signed it. Can you imagine if we had half the country signing this? Numbers matter. So please sign that petition if you have a moment.
He was still at the university last year. He became a leader of the protest movement, with Khalil describing his role to reporters as a negotiator and spokesman for the school's pro-Palestinian group. And according to a statement from his lawyer, Amy Green,
Chad says, do you need to be an American to sign? According to the website, I do not believe so. It actually says, if you are not an American, don't use your real name for, tracking reasons. So I believe you can sign it, but just read it and see. But I believe non-Americans can sign it. I'm not sure, but as an American, I did sign it.
Greer over the weekend, Khalil was stopped by ICE agents who told him his student visa had been revoked, and saying that when he told them that he was a lawful permanent resident with a green card because his wife is a U.S. citizen, they detained him anyway. And this is, Greer also said that she doesn't know
And this, coincides. And again, my heart is with every person who voted for Trump and genuinely didn't know what they were signing up for, because genuinely ignorance is so clear in America. We are underestimating how ignorant the human population is globally. But I mean, not ignorant in terms of education, ignorant in terms of how in their bubbles they are. And the fact that we have seen Trump voters get detained and try to argue that they're allowed to be here and they didn't realize it was going to attack them. I'm telling you, ignorance is not bliss. It's killing people. It's hurting your families. Ignorance is killing your children. So if you want to do anything in this life individually, be less ignorant. And community-wise, recognize how your communities are being impacted by your ignorance. And this is why my heart does go out to these people, because in some point, I promise you, they don't know better. And nothing is more dangerous than an adult person who doesn't know better. It's one thing for a child not to know better, but I'm telling you, when an adult doesn't know better, we're dealing with a very scary part of the population.
Where Khalil's even being held. But they're saying that she was told Sunday morning that he was being detained in Elizabeth, New Jersey, a fact that was also listed on an ICE detainee locator website, but then adding, when his wife, a U.S. citizen who is 8 months pregnant and was threatened with arrest as well by the ICE agents last night, tried to visit him there today, she was told he is not detained there. And so now you have Greer saying she received reports that he may have been transferred.
How scary. How fucking scary. Oh my God. How scary. Can you imagine? This is what I'm saying. Just imagine for a moment that your partner is out there. Think if you're a pro-lifer and you're out there, protesting abortions. Just imagine your person gets picked up and sent somewhere and you can't find them. Just think about how much you would want to be able to see your person, and you can't get to them because someone in a uniform said, nah. And just tell me that doesn't crush your heart. Tell me that doesn't feel like a hand around your throat suffocating you. Tell me that doesn't feel so scary. And then remind yourself that you voted for this, that you wanted this. And, just remember.
As far away as Louisiana. Several outlets have also since reported that records suggest that Khalil is indeed being held in custody in Louisiana. With the attorney then going on to say that she has filed a habeas corpus petition on Khalil's behalf, challenging his arrest and detention, and adding, "We will vigorously be pursuing Mahmoud's rights in court and will continue our efforts to right this terrible and inexcusable and calculated wrong committed against him." And with that, saying that the arrest follows the US government's open repression of student activism and political speech, specifically targeting students at Columbia University for criticism of Israel's assault on Gaza, and adding the US government has made clear that they will use immigration enforcement as a tool to suppress that speech. But as far as exactly why Khalil's being detained, that remains unclear right now. Right now, with that, I'll say in a statement last night, a spokeswoman for the Department of Homeland Security said that he was arrested in, quote, support of President Trump's executive orders prohibiting anti-Semitism, adding Khalil led activities aligned to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, and saying ICE and the Department of State are committed to enforcing President Trump's executive orders and to protecting U.S. national security. With also Secretary of State Marco Rubio sharing a link on X to an AP article about Khalil in writing, "We will be revoking the visas and/or green cards of Hamas supporters in America so they can."
So let me get this straight. Nazis okay, but people fighting on behalf of Palestinians not okay. It's not about supporting Hamas. Hamas, Israel, let's be honest, the amount of terrorism, I guarantee you Israel's caused more deaths than Hamas. Okay? So that's the idea that I'm so upset with, is that they're willing to arrest this person and a student. By the way, student protests, if that's not more American, what's more American than a student protest? That is so American. It's crazy, So the audacity. And this is exactly the point, is they will twist it and say, you can't. Elon Musk showed up to support Nazis and he is in the White House and that's okay. But fighting on behalf of marginalized people being genocided by Israel, that's not okay. And listen to me when I say this. Though I have empathy for Trump voters who regret their vote for Trump, I don't have much empathy for people who don't regret it. Right? That at some point, in the most adult sense, you must accept the actions of your consequences. And so, God forbid, my parents feel the pain of one of their kids being targeted by this administration. But I have to say this, and I mean this with the most love and compassion for my family as evolved animals on this planet. I wonder every day if my parents would change their belief if one of their queer kids were targeted. If one of their queer kids were targeted, I wonder every day if my parents would change their beliefs. Would they be like Matthew Shepard's mother and change her mind? Probably not. And that says something about human beings in general. As an animal species evolved, how we process information, how prideful we are. Yeah. I don't think so. And on top of that, I wonder if Trump had his way, would he deport my parents, even though they've been citizens for 1 billion years? They're from Iraq. Is that why immigrants who come here fight so hard to appeal to Republicans so they don't have to face the consequences when these Republicans start deporting people who look like them? But then the irony, as we've seen, is that this administration doesn't care if you voted for them. They're still going to arrest you. They're still going to target you. They're still going to question you because it was never about legal status. And we knew that. We always knew that. And I really hope these Trump voters start to really get that. I hope immigrants really start to understand it was never about coming here legally. And you have got to understand this.
Can be deported. And then today we saw Trump himself chiming in on Truth Social, writing that Khalil had been apprehended and that his arrest was just the first of many to come, and adding that his administration knows of more students who have engaged in what he called pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic, anti-American activity, and claiming without evidence there that many are not students, they are paid agitators. With Trump then going on.
Hold on. A Discord said Trump is doing awful things he wanted to do and staying consistent. What is there for Trump voters to regret? What changed a few months ago? Genuinely, this is how human brains work. They hear, we just want people to come here legally, and they believe it. Like little kids who believe in Santa Claus. I'm not fucking with you. They genuinely believe Trump only cares about people coming here illegally. But that's why this story is so vital and important. This is why this story is so dangerous. You know how many of my relatives have been or are on green cards? Do you understand why this story is so important? But I tell you this, how will a Trump voter who's sure of Trump understand this story? They will say, well, he broke the law and he was lucky to even be here. But then they'll brag about how America is so free speech. They genuinely think in the depth. That's why I say life is all about bubbles and perception. They live in a bubbled perception, as we all do. We all live in bubbles, but their bubble is very different than our bubble because their bubble literally has this like way to make everything justified. Like my parents said, they don't believe Trump is a rapist. They don't believe anything he said. They don't believe his felonies because they think it's all a conspiracy by the Democrats to get Trump. They think the election was stolen. They believe it. And getting my parents to understand that it's not about believing. You can look at the right information and realize but they don't because they're not open-minded and they're not curious. They're great. I love them. I would never want anything bad to happen to my family. But I tell you this, like the world is a reflection of us as a whole. And if you're upset with the state of the world, we are all participating in it. So we must with kindness and compassion, advocate for people. We must show up as communities. We must do what we can. So like I said, check out the link in the chat. This is a petition you can sign to demand the release of Mahmoud Khalil. This will help. This will help you. This will help your family. This will help you whether you voted for Trump or for Biden or for Kamala Harris, for whoever you voted for, it doesn't matter. Because this is about all of us. No one should be allowed to be arrested for protesting in America. This is America. Well, nobody should be allowed to be arrested for protesting. Nobody. Even if you're here, undocumented. Nobody. Because this is the land of the free, right? So sign that petition because it really does matter. I know you think it doesn't, but it really does matter.
To say we will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again. But very notably here,
Listen to that. We will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again. Does that count for Elon? Who's supporting Nazi and right-winged, very extreme right-winged bubbles? Like, does this count for Elon? This is what I'm saying. Don't let them convince you that this dude who's a student, who's simply advocating for the rights of Palestinian people not to be genocided, that he is the enemy versus the people in the White House right now who are going to use this against you the moment you become annoying to them. The moment they're annoyed with your form of protest, you're next, girl. They don't care if you voted for them. Trump will arrest Trump voters if he sees fit. So don't think you're safe just because you're on his side.
And deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again. But very notably here, none of those official statements have said what specific crimes Khalil had actually been charged with. And that ends up being super significant because experts say that it is true that DHS can revoke green cards and deport their holders for a wide range of criminal activity, including support for a terror group. And while the agency's statement seems to indicate that they are trying to revoke his green card on those grounds, it's been widely reported, including in the same AP article Rubio shared, that Khalil hasn't actually been charged with a crime. Right? And according to the AP, his arrest appears to stem from an investigation by a Columbia University office that has brought disciplinary charges against many, with Khalil potentially facing sanctions for helping to organize a, quote, unauthorized marching event where participants glorified Hamas's October 7th attack, as well as playing what they called a substantial role in circulating social media posts criticizing Zionism in addition to other acts of alleged discrimination. But as of right now, from what we've seen, those are just allegations under investigation. And even if he's found to be culpable, we're talking about disciplinary action from the university, not necessarily anything with actual immediate legal implications. Which is why with all this, you have so many experts questioning the legality of this move and some just calling it blatantly unconstitutional. Right? And so with all this, we've seen many arguing that he's just being detained for protesting and expressing views protected by free speech, and that criticism notably has even come from within the halls of Columbia. We're seeing the director of the Immigrants' Rights Clinic at Columbia Law School saying that revoking Khalil's green card in retaliation for his public speech, that is prohibited by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
Okay, first of all, Chet says, why is Elon a non-U.S. citizen giving the privilege to have a say in our country? He is a U.S. citizen. Why? I don't know why people keep saying this. Elon is a U.S. citizen, yes? Like, I've Googled this 1,000 times, but I keep hearing it from people. We can't, if you're saying that because he's an immigrant, we cannot set a precedent that immigrants aren't U.S. citizens. But he is a U.S. citizen, right? Like, I want to make it abundantly clear, like, because sometimes I'm worried that people are trying to make the point that he's not born here. But him not being born here doesn't matter, right? People think he's not from the U.S. because he immigrated to Canada first. I thought he was an overstayer. He is a U.S. citizen. He might not have done it in a good way. He overstayed his visa on a school visa, I believe. But he is an American citizen. Okay? So I just want to make it abundantly clear that though he did it illegally, he is now a citizen. From my understanding of his story. You know, I just want to make sure, like, we're not talking bad about immigrant. Like, if you're here, you're part of the system, you know, you're part of the community.
Constitution. With one legal expert even going a step further, telling CBS, if he's a green card holder, slam dunk, there's no way to arrest him. He had not been charged with a crime, or if he's, you know, if there's something more than that, really there's no way. Number one, because you're dealing with a legal resident alien, which means you're dealing with the green card holder who has a lot of rights in our country. Right? And this is, you've had...
Thank you for asking. Chat said, where's the petition? I just put the petition in the link again. Please sign the petition. It's demanding the release of Mahmoud Khalil, which, again, isn't just about you or him, but it's about you. It's about all of us. We should always have the right to protest in America. That is what America is all about.
Had others questioning what legal authority the Trump administration would even have to revoke green cards, noting that usually such an action would require a hearing before an immigration judge. But then, of course, beyond what the experts have been saying, we've also seen
Chad says, do we need to be an American to sign? From my understanding, you do not need to be an American, but follow the instructions on the page to make sure that it's done correctly. Team Saltman, thank you so much for the super chat, guys. I really appreciate it. Please like the stream. It really helps. You said I share the name Khalil with Mahmoud, and every time I see my name in the news, it is usually because someone died, or in this case, is disappeared for unjust reasons. I feel like we're hunting stock. Yeah. My family and I during, which is very difficult since they've been lifelong Republicans, but even after 9/11 and after invading Iraq, we would see names on the news, and I would see like half my relatives' names, and it was weird. But then that must, you know, that's how people, it's just, what a horrible feeling. And even like the name, like, have your opinions about what you think people should be named, but like, name discrimination is real. People think you are less than because your name tells them something about you. And we need to pay attention to that. That this name, Mahmoud, is going to be a name that people feel justified in hating just because of letters. Just because of sounds attached to a person's like persona or identity. This isn't just about him. This is about all of us.
massive reaction to the arrest online, with one example being a petition for his release getting more than 1 million signatures online.
This is the one I just linked. This is the petition. I'm going to link it again in chat. This is the petition. Action Network. I didn't even pre-watch this. I got my link from Elliot Sang. I got the link from Elliot Sang, but I'm glad Phil is covering it here too. Sign this petition. Sign it. Sign this petition.
As of recording, many also slamming the move in posts, including big names like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who tweeted, if the federal government can disappear a legal U.S. permanent resident without reason or warrant, then they can disappear U.S. citizens too. Anyone,
exactly.
left, right, or center, who has highlighted the importance of...
Do you know how long my uncle was here on a green card, married to an American? My uncle, who started a business in America, who participated in America, who let his kids fly a Confederate flag in their room because they were half white and half Assyrian. It's questionable, I know. But that man who was in Virginia is basically a hick, okay? With peace and love, an Assyrian hick. It's real, okay? Was here on a green card for so many years. Could be arrested and taken for having the wrong kind of protest in this country. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Even that person, you know, absolutely not. Absolutely not, okay? RL, thank you for the super chat. Says you can't spell red hat without hatred. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you.
Constitutional rights and free speech should be sounding the alarm now. And to her point there, we've seen people across the political spectrum raising concerns. I mean, for example, you even had right-wing Ann Coulter tweeting, there's almost no one I don't want to deport, but unless they've committed a crime, isn't this a violation of the First Amendment? But also, very notably on the other...
Yo, when Ann Coulter You know what I'm saying? Bro.
Side, we've seen plenty of people and groups praising this move, including the Columbia Jewish Alumni Association, which applauded Khalil's detention in a series of posts on X, with him claiming that he was a ringleader of the chaos at Columbia. You also had the Anti-Defamation League cheering on the arrest, writing, "We appreciate the Trump administration's broad, bold set of efforts to counter campus anti-Semitism, and this action further illustrates that resolve by holding alleged perpetrators responsible for their actions." Though notably, even they seem to acknowledge the questionable legal ground here, adding that any deportation action or revocation of a green card or visa must be undertaken in alignment with required due process protections. Right, notably, we ended up seeing the ADL getting some flack for that post from many, including major commentators like Hassan Piker, who shared that post and wrote, "The ADL thinks it's okay to revoke
Shout out to the One Piece shirt from Hassan.
the green card of student activists."
See, this is what I'm saying. Like, this, as much as, and I have plenty of problems with Hassan, as much as that is true, Hassan does speak out. He does show up to protests. The fact that, and not to bring him up again, Ethan Klein has the audacity to say Hassan isn't doing enough. He's doing 100 times more than Ethan ever could. The fact that Ethan is so obsessed with himself, makes everything about himself. He made this genocide about himself. At least Hassan takes the time, and though he isn't perfect, he takes the time to focus on what matters, which is this. This matters. This is serious. This isn't funny. This is a very big deal. And I know people aren't going to understand it, but this is a very big deal that this is happening. And anyone who supports it is dangerous to you. Any person that supports the arrest of this man is somebody who will call on you if they so see fit. Be scared, but be strong and be resilient and be smart. Be grounded. Be scared, but be grounded. Do not let fear overwhelm you. Do not make mistakes because you are afraid. But I would maybe stop talking to certain family members. If you know what I'm saying, like I would probably be hesitant to talk to certain people in my family if they're not understanding how serious this is.
This is supposed to be a civil rights organization, by the way. But for now, that is where we are. Of course, this is a developing situation. Things are subject to change. So we keep an eye on this. In the meantime, I got to pass a question off to you. What are your thoughts here? Depending on where you go online, drastically different reactions. We've seen people cheering on the move, horrified by the move. I mean, you've even seen takes with thousands of likes of people blaming Joe Biden for this, saying that he's complicit in what the Trump administration is moving to do today. So any and all takes, any and all reasoning, I'd love to hear from you in those comments.
All right. Thank you, Phil. Great job. We love Phil. He does a great job. He actually has a PDS clip channel, which I actually used to show you videos today. I'll go ahead and link it in chat. Thank you, Phil, for doing a good job summarizing the issues at hand. Like I said, I really don't want you to be so afraid you give up, run into a corner, or make a mistake. I want you to live your life, be joyful, and do what's possible. If you can take 10 seconds out of your day, it took me less than literally 10 seconds. Oops, I shared Phil again, not Phil. It took me 10 seconds to sign this petition. Please sign this petition. It really matters. Here, I'll link it again in chat. Oh my God. Hold on. I linked my Discord. I'm such a boomer. Hold on. Boomer Brittany. Boomer Brittany. Everybody slow down. Boomer Brittany. I got you. I got you. I got you. Okay. Please sign this petition. It's really easy. Chat, it took me a minute max and I'm at work. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I really do. RL with the super chat. Thank you so much. Says people who support that are the snitches in the 1940s Germany. People are so disgustingly abhorrent. They really are. Like humans really are good at human. And this really goes down to at least my core belief that like we're evolved animals on this planet, and we're only as self-aware as we allow ourselves to be. Nobody is better than putting on blinders than the individual. Like we are so good at convincing ourselves it's not going to be as bad. Hey, remember me 4 years ago saying Andrew Tate he's not a big deal. No one's going to let this guy rise to power. What? The way I allowed myself to believe that nobody would fall for Andrew Tate's bullshit. And here he is in the state of Florida. Girl, okay, that's why I say we're all participants in the way that the world is. I was so ignorant to believe, okay, that human beings would see through Andrew Tate. Look at me. I was like, no one's going to fall for this. And then, oops, my bad. Okay. So we need to be aware of how bad, and people have been saying it for a long time, right? I just want to keep people calm. I want to keep people focused on the future because there will be a future. And I want you to be alive and ready and healthy for it. I want you to be here for that future. Okay? But it is stressful. It is hard. And it is serious. It's pretty serious. We're going to move forward and talk about an issue that might feel a little less serious in comparison to what we just covered, but I think truly is along the same lines of seriousness on more of a micro scale in terms of individual responsibility and predator behavior in our local communities. So if you guys aren't aware, Denisha Carter had 2 more people step forward to talk about being victims of her, a man and a woman, and actually a woman you will recognize. But let's hear from the man first. Denisha Carter we covered last week, and I know I had some Denisha stans in my DMs saying that they thought I was being racist or misogynistic towards Denisha because I didn't believe her. Denisha has not come out to support herself, has not come out with receipts, has not defended herself, but her victims have come out with receipts, have proven months-long, years-long harassment campaigns done by her. She tried to coerce a man into sex by faking being pregnant. And if any of these are proven to be false, great. But there's 3 people speaking up now. And 3 people is a lot of people. And they seem to have receipts. They seem to have proof. So we have to pay attention to these things. And look, I've never been a big fan of Denisha Carter's content. She's been blocked on TikTok a long time. But that doesn't mean that I'm not willing to hear her come forward and show that this isn't real. But until then, I have got to side with the victims because I just think that's important. In a world that just doesn't believe people, how can I not believe you when you've presented me so much evidence? Like, God forbid, this much evidence and I still deny you agency. But here's Jay. This is the latest victim of Denisha. Let's see what he has to say.
Denisha Carter doxed me to the point where I had to move.
His volume's a little low, so you might have to turn it up on your phone a little bit.
Denisha Carter doxed me to the point where I had to move. She harassed me, my family, my friends, and my clients to the point where I didn't have any work. Like Khalil, the harassment began when she thought I was...
So she's got text messages, or he's got text messages, and actually, hold on here. I can't quite see it because it's so small. Let me listen to his video with you guys, and then I'll pull up the receipts in a bigger format.
Cheating on her with my ex. Obviously, I tried to get her to understand that I wasn't with my ex, but she wouldn't let go of the paranoia. This is when the harassment started, and I was
there is a high possibility that Denisha Carter is suffering from mental delusions, and that's not a joke because she does seem to be very paranoid and accuses all of her victims of not paying enough attention to her or being with other people. This is a pattern of hers. I'm not sure what's going on with her, but regardless, she obviously needs intervention. I mean, all predators need intervention. That's the problem. But also they are creating victims, and that's the other problem.
Of hate texts and DMs every day. They would send me photos of my little sister and my address. Here are some of the screenshots.
Pulling up to the hotel, the hospital, Reston Hospital. The phone number is no longer in service. Can't wait to catch you. Leave me alone, weirdo. This phone number is no longer in service.
She told her followers personal things that I told her in confidence, and they used it.
You're such a loser, dude. True, 2 attempts should have been 1 success. I mean, if this is real, if this is real, bro.
To weaponize against me. She told people I emotionally and physically abused her. She later admitted to posting my address and apologized to me in a phone call.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
No,
Damn.
it's not.
Did you not do that on
That does sound like her voice.
purpose? That's less impressive.
No. Why would I do that on purpose?
I thought you were crazy.
Oh my god. That's so much worse.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I was like, damn, this girl's trying to ruin my life.
I'm so sorry.
After that, the harassment stopped, and she sent me a message that she sent to her Discord. Here's a screenshot.
Hey everyone, this is Denisha. Hi everyone. I originally made this Discord to have a place where I could be more genuine and vulnerable with you guys, my audience. I've shared my personal experiences, good and bad, many times with you over the years, so we could navigate life and learn lessons together. However, at no point did it include any calls to action or causing harm to anyone. I'm very disappointed to discover that the recent situation I shared with you resulted in you taking it upon yourselves to bully and harass someone I told you I was developing feelings for. The texting, the calling, the comments on Instagram, the bothering of his friends and the followers It's so beyond unacceptable. I'm surprised I even have to detail it in words. It needs to stop immediately. My heart breaks to say I'm strongly reconsidering keeping any aspect of my Discord active after this. Okay.
Obviously, in the response to the doxing, I told her I didn't want to see her anymore. After that, the harassment started picking up more and I would receive more death threats every day. I realized harassment stopped for me around the same time she started talking to Khalil. She kept denying all of this stuff while posting stuff like this on TikTok.
Maybe I was deeply psychologically and cruel, but maybe you shouldn't have done that. Okay.
And texting me stuff like this. What happened?
Hold on, I want to see that.
Texting me.
Hello. I was thinking about you. Are you okay? You're probably surprised that I care, but I do. I'm worried about you. I don't want to add to the stress you're likely feeling, but we need to talk about something important. Looking for love? Just a racially ambiguous guy with good stories. Laugh my ass off. I'm sorry. Who's in the blue? Who says hello? I don't know how iPhones work. Is this him? Did he reach out to her or she reached out? And then he said, is he saying he's a racially ambiguous guy with good story? I'm confused. Can somebody help the boomer, please? Yes, blue is him. So he reached out to her and then she went off. Okay. Interesting.
Stuff like this. What happened to Khalil is not an isolated incident. He insisted on meeting up in person to talk about something important.
Oh, he's probably responding to her like she reached out and he went hello. Okay.
After seeing how she lied to Khalil about being pregnant, I wonder if she wanted to do the same to me. Denisha Carter doxed me to the point where I had to move.
Okay, so that is him, right? And then I want to show you where's the video? Hold on. I have a lot of videos lined up. I saved them. Okay, this one. This is what we just watched, but Khalil is responding now. And then you'll see a third victim in this video.
Denisha Carter doxed me to the point where I had to move. She harassed me.
Hold on, the volume's going to be low for a
Obviously,
second.
my video went viral.
Whoa. Okay, Khalil, we love the volume.
And I've had over a dozen people reach out to me with stories regarding Denisha. 2 of those stories being exponentially worse than mine, and 1 of which resulting in a restraining order against her. All the people who are asking, oh, why'd I bring this to the internet? It's because I saw over the course of 2 months the harassment get exponentially worse, and I did not want it to keep escalating. If you go back and watch Jay's video, he's been dealing with this since May all the way till December. And the way the timeline lays out, it seems that she only stopped harassing him because she started talking to me. It is obvious that this is a pattern of behavior for her, and it not only happens to men, she's done it to women as well. I have had multiple women reach out to me regarding the harassment they faced at her behest. Even a popular TikToker, Kiara, made a video regarding the harassment that she was subject to and the death threats that she received.
We know her. We reviewed her before. I can't believe she's involved. So that's like, that means multiple content creators, multiple people to platform, but also multiple people, multiple genders.
Khalil's video about Denisha, because some of you remember that a couple of years ago she purchased bots to harass me online, a bunch of bots on Instagram sending me messages and comments on my Instagram to unalive myself.
And to all the people asking why I didn't bring it to court, she doesn't have money. I made that very clear. Because she has no money, the only way to affect her is to impact her social capital. The only reason this keeps happening is because she has a large platform which she can weaponize against people that she doesn't like. And there's also no legal repercussions for doing shit like this. Jay even attempted to take this to the police and they told him that they couldn't do anything. Only reason the other guy was able to get a restraining order against her is because she destroyed his personal property. I knew by coming forward I was opening myself up to public scrutiny, but honestly I'm fucking shocked. The amount of death threats I've received in response to me coming forward is insane. The fact that people are commenting my mother's name under my TikTok is fucking insane.
Crazy.
The collective move from certain individuals to discredit me is fucking insane. The clear attempts to devalue my name in order to protect her is fucking insane. But anyways, hopefully y'all get it together and realize that she's a fucking creep.
Okay, right? So again, we covered this story. Some Denisha stans are in my DMs. Again, we do not support predatory behavior, harassment. All of this is inappropriate. There's over a dozen possible victims, 3 of which we have seen come forward at least. 1 of which of the dozen has a restraining order. Like, there's a lot here that is enough for us to be concerned about Denisha's presence, right? Like, we should be concerned. And also we should feel very vindicated in blocking her the way we did, because so many people have blocked her. I'm so glad I wasn't alone in that there was something about her. Like, not that I ever thought it would be this bad. I didn't. I just thought she was like holier than thou or off or grifting or something. I never thought it would be this bad, but this is bad. And Denisha's not young, but she's not old. She's like 27. All these people in under 30, girl, come on. So I know she has a large presence. She's probably not going to talk about this. And again, of course, if she ever came forward with receipts that she's innocent, it is what it is. And like, I will take back what I've said. But for now, I have to support the victims because they are coming forward with the receipts. And I think that's really, really important. You know, I just think that's so key. But yeah, like, what do we do with this, right? What does this say for us as people? Be wary of content creators and neighbors and coworkers and people you work with. Remember that we're evolved animals on a planet. You don't know who you're interacting with. You don't know their bubble. You don't know their beliefs. Defaulting to assume everyone is like you is always a mistake. And though we should show dignity and compassion to all people, we should remember that all people have a unique way of showing it back. Right? And the road to hell is paved in good intention. So even though Denisha lectured her Discord about harassing this man, I'm not sure that it wasn't a safe face. Right? And there's something to be said about that. I can't once again give people the benefit of the doubt to such an extent that we undermine the victims who have come forward. So we side with victims until proof is given otherwise. And she has enough of a platform and enough of a standing to at least make a statement, which she's not going to probably, much like Cody Ko, which is why we were done with Cody. Cody Ko still hasn't made a statement about Tana. Even though the statutes of limitations are over, even though he could cover it and talk about it, even though he's not possibly going to get in trouble for his visa, because I believe he's in America on a visa, you know, there's so many, and he's very rich. It's not like he couldn't figure out a new way to live in Canada where he's from, right? There's just so much at hand, or so many opportunities, so many chances for people to do the right thing, even in a position where it feels like it's never going to be good, like they're throwing themselves to the wolves. Maybe Denisha feels that way. Maybe Cody feels that way. I mean, in many ways, they're right to not say anything. And we've said this before. I'm not saying it's morally right. I'm saying it's strategically correct to not say anything. I'm not saying it's morally correct. And that's why they probably won't say anything. Because strategically, like, people will forget it happened. And they will move on. You know, they will move on. People will move on. And that's humans gonna human for you. What are you gonna do? Okay, now, again, not the biggest issue happening in the world, but yet a big issue happening in the LGBT community. And that is the consistent need to be transphobic in these trying times. So let's talk about a fitness influencer. I created this little video for us to watch because her original audio is really, really low on her videos. So I went ahead and made a little 7-minute, hold on, girly. I made like a little 7-minute video about a content creator named Natalie B Fitness. And Natalie is, I think, a well-intentioned woman with a very unique transphobic stance. And it's really hurting the trans communities right now. And she's getting a lot of support from a lot of cis women. She's getting a lot of support from especially a lot of, I think, religious women. She has an interesting story for her reasoning. So let's go ahead and watch it. I'd like to know your opinions. What do you guys think about this? I'm going to show you guys this in 3 different videos, all by Natalie. The first one is the oldest, and this came out in 2021. And this is significantly important because it gets brought up later in her current videos, okay? And this is where she is in the middle of conversations with her community to explain she's opening a gym. She wants it to be a women's gym, and she's trying to be inclusive of the LGBT community, but doesn't know how to be, right? So let's talk about it. This video is old. This is an older video, 2021.
So this is something I previously spoke about on my TikTok, but again, I always need help when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, because again, I'm not in the community. So I wanted to ask whether there's some kind of line that can be drawn to account for the fact that there are going to be men that come to my gym, say they are a trans woman just to get into my gym and challenge that. Because there are a ton of men in these comments saying, I'm going to put on a wig and I'm going to come to your gym. And how do I challenge that? If they say they are trans, then they are trans. Who am I to say they're not? So I wanted to ask.
Do you guys remember when Steven Crowder tried to prank the gym by pretending he was trans and they called him out right away? I think authentic trans people are having an authentic human experience. Cis men don't know how to be women. Say it with me, girls. Cis men don't know how to fake being women. They don't. Trans women are having a different experience. The dilemma is I don't think people know how to read people. as an autistic person myself, I feel like I'm very good at reading people. You know what I mean? And I feel like I know what I'm dealing with Steven Crowder, and I'm dealing with a trans woman. Because, first of all, Steven Crowder will walk into a gym and be like, hi, I'm a girl. Can I go to the bathroom? What trans woman walks into a gym and goes, hi, I'm a girl. Can I go to the bathroom? Obviously, that's not the same experience. She would walk into the place and be like, where's your bathroom? Can I use your restroom? Where's the bathroom? Like, trans people talk like regular people. Cis men pretending to be women do not. Cis men pretending to be women be trolling.
Whether there's a line that can be drawn, maybe saying that the trans woman has to be going through some kind of medical transition.
And also, not only that, but you cannot assume every man is a predator. But I will tell you this, some of those women at those women-only gyms will be predators. So this idea that she's going to minimize predatory behavior by not allowing men into the gyms is not taking into account the possibility and the probability that at least 1 in 100 of those women will be predators at her gym. So I don't even know what we're talking about here.
Transitioning, even if it's just hormones, in order to be at the gym. I don't want to be transphobic at all because I am not a transphobic individual. I genuinely believe that trans women are women, but I just think something needs to be put in place because men are terrifying and men will
So she does say, I do believe at this, in this 2021, she says, I do believe trans women are women, but how do we account for the cis men pretending to be women? That's a great question. But these are two different categories of people, to be clear.
try and challenge me and men will try and challenge my gym.
In 2021, 4 years ago, I made a tweet and the tweet referenced my women's only gym, the Girl Spot.
This is the secondary video that is more recent and recently going viral. And she put out a tweet that says, respectfully, if you have a problem with trans women attending my gym, then you can find another gym to train at. I have discussed this several times before. Trans women are women and also a minority that need to be protected. Please keep your transphobia away. Fire tweet. We love this. Like, hello, Natalie, we love you. But then she had to make this video explaining the tweet because apparently the tweet is older than this current video you're watching.
And being trans inclusive. Now, when I made that tweet in 2021, I had just announced my plans to open a women's only gym. I hadn't thought out the vision or the mission or what it would entail, but all I knew is that I wanted to open a gym. We are now 4 years later, and I have had a great deal of time to figure that out. The Girl Spot Gym exists as a safe space for women because women are facing gym harassment, sexual assault, and sexual violence inside of gyms. And I know that because I'm a victim of it. So the meaning of the Girl Spot Gym is now entirely different. And I say this to say that whilst we are a gym, inside we are focusing on self-defense classes, Muay Thai, boxing classes, as well as workshops and activations around.
Also, do you notice the difference in her? I'm so sorry. Look at the difference between this girl here, who she is today, after having a baby and being pregnant and having a husband, versus this girl here. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? She, I don't know if she just had a specific branding in mind, but she went straight, like, she went from like looking like chill as fuck to like, oh, okay. Like a little conservative, like a little, there's something here. There's like a, but I'll tell you why. Now, okay, hold on. I already know the story. There's a reason for this change. And I want us to be very compassionate about it. Okay, hold on. Chat says her light is gone. There's a reason her light is gone. And we need to be very serious about what's actually going to be talked about in a few minutes.
Violence inside of gyms. And I know that because I'm a victim of it. So the meaning.
See, did you hear that? Hold on.
The Girl Spot Gym exists as a safe space for women because women are facing gym harassment, sexual assault, and sexual violence inside of gyms. And I know that because I'm a victim of it. So the meaning of the Girl Spot Gym is now entirely different. And I say this to say that whilst we are a gym, inside we are focusing on self-defense classes, Muay Thai, boxing classes, as well as workshops and activations around PCOS and training on your menstrual cycle, all of which occur to biological women. Majority of the women who are seeking my women's only gym, the Girl Spot, are coming here because they have faced some level of gym intimidation or sexual violence and assault that has been perpetrated by men. So as the owner of the gym, it is very important to make it clear how my women's only gym will be operating, and it will be operating as a single sex space for biological women. Now, we do believe that everybody deserves a safe space, And there are many gyms that are starting to have mixed cubicles and changing rooms so that individuals can feel safer and more included in these environments. But the Girl Spot Gym as a standalone is a female-only gym because it is imperative that I stick to the vision and the mission and ensure that these women feel safe. Everything that is
Okay, now we're going to watch a very current video of her reacting to everything the internet's been saying about her being transphobic. And I want our community to always approach everybody with compassion and to remember that the reason I say don't let fear overwhelm you is because fear makes you bigoted. Fear makes you a worse person. It's okay to be scared, but when you give into fear in a philosophical sense, you can become very bigoted. I think so much of racism and transphobia and homophobia, all of it is laced in a fear, right? A fear of understanding, a fear of knowing, a fear of what could happen. And I think Natalie is a victim of a tragedy, and that tragedy has made her fearful, and now it has made her bigoted. Let's talk about it though, after hearing her story.
circulating on the internet right now, and it's very heavy. It is a lot, and I think a lot has also somewhat been misconstrued. And for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, essentially I posted a video and I said that my women's only gym, the Girl Spot, will be operating as a single sex space. So it'll be female only. So at this current time, it won't be trans inclusive. And I want to preface and say that this decision was not made lightly. It took me 4 years to make this decision, and I spent a great deal of time speaking to trans women. I spoke to charities, I spoke to Muslim women, I spoke to so many different communities about this topic. And what really saddens me is that so many people are saying that I'm transphobic. I thoroughly researched. I seeked legal advice. I spoke to communities. I spoke to trans women themselves, which I found very important to do so, to see how to navigate all of this, because I am not trans. So obviously the decision to make it was not based on excluding any individuals. It wasn't based on malice, nothing of the sort. The decision was based on the simple fact that I have been sexually assaulted inside of a gym. That is why I stand here as a women's only gym owner. I was sexually assaulted inside of a gym, which means...
So I'm going to pause it right here because I think this is really important to pay attention to. This is like when we watched Anna, help me out guys, what's her name? From the Young Turks. And people were saying, Brittany, I think she's just bigoted. I think she's just bigoted. I was like, she probably has a personal trauma related to why she's become bigoted. And she had been assaulted by a homeless person. And that's how humans work. We allow fear to overwhelm us, and we allow ourselves to become bigoted and hateful because we are afraid. And this is just everyone's experience, my experience, your experience. And that's why we have to fight our bigotry and fight our prejudice and fight ourselves. Anna Kasparian, thank you, chat. And my heart goes out to her. My heart goes out to Anna for being assaulted. My heart goes out to Natalie. This is not what I want for these women. I don't want them to be assaulted. But I don't think being assaulted is a justification for bigotry. But I think that's why we go to therapy to deconstruct our fears. And this is what homophobia is. That's why it's a fear. When people say, like, I'm not afraid of gay people, you're afraid of gay people to such an extent that you won't let them get married or live in civil society. You're not afraid in the way you think that I'm talking about. You're afraid in another way, though. This is fear. We're afraid of what society will look like. We're afraid of what people will do to each other. We're afraid of predators and groomers, and we're afraid. That's why you're homophobic and transphobic, because you're afraid. And then they'll say, I'm not afraid of them. Well, you are. You're afraid of the consequence. You know? So my heart goes out to Natalie. I want to make sure we never, especially in this space, take away from a woman's sexual assault story. And I also want to encourage us to deconstruct our fears, because I do think it makes us bigoted. Okay. And I also think if she had just made the gym LGBTQIA inclusive, it would have turned away the cis men who were bad anyways. Like if she had just made, that's why I think, like if she had just made, but then I guess gay men would have been there, and she doesn't want gay men there either, which is a whole other topic. So like, you know what I'm saying? I get it. Like cis men aren't going to navigate, like aren't going to gravitate to certain spaces. But yeah, I understand the need to have a women's only gym. I used to go to a women's only spa in Seattle, and it was great vibes. There were, all gender spas as well. But like I used to go to a women's spa, and it was really cool. But I would have really been okay with a women's spa having any gender there that would have been safely associated with women. I think that's the way that I think about it, is like, I don't mind any gender around me that is safely associated with being a woman. So like non-binary, gender fluid, whatever, like a part of me is so queer, and I just don't think gender matters in this way. But this is why my community, me, who thinks like gender doesn't matter in this way, I have to account for the fact the reason I got there was because it was a part of my extrospection journey. My deconstruction of gender took years, and it's a part of my desire to understand what it means to be a person. And most people don't have that. Like, most people don't have to do that. And most people are living in fear. So a lot of the women in her comments were like, I'm a hijabi, I'm a religious woman, I'm this, thank you so much, I need this space. And I think there's something to be said about that. But remember that these are conservative communities whose communities are rampant with bigotry. Of course you need a safe space. You're afraid. Of course you're religious and are afraid of trans women. Your whole community convinces you and trains you to be. Of course you're afraid of men. Your communities are misogynistic. Of course you're afraid of your fathers and your brothers. They voted for Trump. Of course you don't want them at the gym. Of course you feel harassed by men. Of course you feel horrible. So horrible that you're going to do it to another woman. Okay.
A lot of trauma and a lot of emotion and well-being is behind this project. This is not just a gym. Like, so many of the women that are coming to my women's only gym is because they have also been sexually assaulted or sexually harassed or faced gym intimidation inside mixed gyms and faced that by men. So it's very important to know that this was not an easy decision. I didn't just wake up. I didn't just say, oh, no trans women allowed. Like, I've really thought this through. And like, when I made that tweet in 2021 about being trans inclusive, I had just started this project. I was 21 years old, or 20 years old actually at the time. And what the Girl Spot meant then is not what the Girl Spot means now. And that is why I said in my video that I'm labeling it as a single sex space and it will be female only, because I want to do so many classes around self-defense so that women can defend themselves against men, so that like boxing and Muay Thai is so incredibly important at the Girl Spot. And I want to do classes on like PCOS and like hormone imbalances and training on our menstrual cycle. So it is very much female orientated, you know? And I so strongly believe that everybody deserves a safe space. Like, if you are a true, authentic follower of mine, you know that I am not transphobic. You know how much I stand for safe spaces for everyone.
I think this is the dilemma. This is why I don't like a centrist. At the end of the day, it is a form of transphobia to have a women's only space and not invite trans women in. Now, there is a spectrum and an experience in some category of trans woman that is had in the world in which that trans woman will never be accepted by a majority of people because she isn't what people consider, forgive my language, passing enough. And because she's not passing enough, it's too scary, because that trans person symbolizes in appearance the fear that their fear represented, which is a man. Okay. The dilemma is, what is a man? What is gender? And I know this is like, I feel like gender advanced because I think gender is like an fluid experience, but that thing you're afraid of isn't what you think it is, in my opinion. I don't think it's exactly what you think it is, because I don't think men are inherently bad, but I think we raise people who are men badly and they become bad people, right? But I think transphobia on a spectrum exists in a reality where she can say, I validate trans women as women, but they can't come to my only women's gym. And in her head, that makes perfect sense. But in my head, it just doesn't work. Because then you don't really believe they're women, do you? Right? And I get it. Now, I wouldn't do this, obviously, but if I was in her position, and this is how I try to empathize with people, and I was her, how would I be inclusive and make a women's only space that would deter men from showing up? Even men who wanted to prank me. Well, first, I wouldn't announce it on the internet. The dilemma is Natalie is using her internet presence to fund a project that will naturally allow trolls to come in. Because that's what the internet is. She has almost 2 million followers on TikTok, a lot less on YouTube. She's mostly a TikToker. But the reason she's going to face the possibility of amplified trolling is because it's on the internet, girl. But she needs the internet to fund her project. She actually asked her viewers for funding for the gym to help with the funding. So the reason she needs to tell the trolls on the internet, the reason the trolls even find out, is because she shared it with them. Versus if this was a local endeavor run by the LGBTQ community, most bigoted people wouldn't show up. So then it like begs the question, when does going online to fuel in life, like in real life projects, end up becoming a problem? Right? Like actually becoming a problem. And I think that's the question that we haven't had a real, that's the conversation we need to have. Truthfully, right? Is, man, I love the internet and it helps fund projects. But at the same time, maybe we're allowing too many bad people to see advertisement for our progressive endeavor. You remember was it Wonder Woman, guys? Remember when the theater had a women's night only? Was it Star Wars? It was to watch a movie. And the men got really upset that women were having their own women's night out only. But it was the internet. That event would not have been harassed to the point that it was if they didn't go to the internet. The internet is genuinely a cesspool of very bad people. You know? And I think that's a part of the problem. I really love it here on the internet. But I think it's a pretty bad place sometimes. And it definitely doesn't feel that way in my real life. My real life is so much better. My online life is so much safer to me. But when I get on the internet, I start to see all the bad and it gets a lot more suffocating. Now, of course, I'm also privileged enough that I live in a pretty good neighborhood. Everyone's really safe. Everything's really nice. I live in one of the safest European countries, one of the safest, literally. So I feel better being here. But also, like, the internet, it's a double-edged sword. And I want her to take that into consideration. You know? But there is a fear. Okay, let me say it this way. I would work out at the gym more if it was queer inclusive and gay and LGBT and women. I know a lot of cis men who are great gym buddies, but I also know a lot of them who, not harassment wise, but I'm going to mansplain to you guys, I don't want to deal with. I do feel more judgment from them than some more inclusive spaces, but I also wouldn't want to be in a straight women's gym either. Like just straight women, I would not feel comfortable. I do not feel comfortable around that many straight women. Where's the gay? Where's the flare? Where's the bisexual? Where's the pansexual? You know? And if you're going to be a straight woman, you might as well be, you know, queer, trans, non-binary, AFAB, something, please, like AFAB, gender fluid, whatever, please, to bring in some, there's a bubble of straight women that's just too conservative for me. So it's not even about just being around straight women or queer people or trans people. It's about the kinds. And I feel like she's creating a gym to be very welcoming to a lot of bigoted people. And she's going to realize that. She's going to realize that the people who go to her gym are going to be bigoted. So what's worse, a man or a female bigot? And that's the question. Who would you rather have in your gym? Inclusive all genders, or specifically all the bigoted transphobes who now feel safe at your gym because you said fuck trans women? No, thank you. Nothing worse than a bigoted woman. No, thank you.
It's so incredibly important to me, and that's why this really, really has gotten to me, because this is not how I ever anticipated this to go. Of course, I know that people would be hurt and feel a way about it, but like, I care so much about safe spaces, and I believe trans women deserve and need their own safe spaces, you know? Like, it's a really kind of difficult space to navigate. And like, I am one single independent gym owner. My gym is tiny, you know? I'm nowhere near the size of like LA Fitness or David Lloyd's if you're in the UK. Like, I'm one very, very small gym. And I know a lot of people said, why don't you have trans only hours or a trans space inside of the gym? Like, the gym is tiny. It's a very boutique gym, and like, I'm very limited, you know, and I don't have the capital and all of that. So whilst I understand the anger around backtracking in terms of what I said in 2021. Like, I do feel bad about that, but the reason why it is female only is so incredibly important. You know, like, I want so many girls and women to feel so safe. Like, this is very much coming from a trauma and assault perspective. Like I said, like, I don't know.
Self-aware. She said, okay, she said this is coming from a trauma perspective. Now, I think, see, even the dilemma, even if she said, I'm going to have a gym that welcomes survivors of sexual assault who are women, trans women would be there because trans women experience sexual assault, often at higher numbers because they're targeted. You know, but I understand, at least she said this is trauma informed, which is why I want to have a lot of compassion for her, because, you know, that's hard. But I hope in the future, after many years of healing, maybe she welcomes it to more women, right? Yeah.
If I would be standing here today if I wasn't sexually assaulted inside of a gym. Like, that was my driving force. And like, I feel like so many people have looked
here, I'll rewind it so we can hear her in full context.
Trauma and assault perspective. Like I said, like, this is very much coming from a trauma and assault perspective. Like I said, like, I don't know if I would be standing here today if I wasn't sexually assaulted inside of a gym. Like,
see?
That was my driving force.
She said, I didn't know if I'd be standing here today if I wasn't assaulted in a gym. So we have to take that into consideration. That's a big deal.
And like, I would be standing here today if I wasn't sexually assaulted inside of a gym. Like, that was my driving force. And like, I feel like so many people have looked over it, which really upsets me also, because like, that was such a huge thing, you know, like, any woman that experiences sexual assault in any degree is awful. And I'm getting so much hate and so much comments and everything. And I feel like nobody's really understanding that I've been a victim of insane, like, harassment, intimidation, assault, and it's been awful. And I just say all this to say, like, this was not a light decision. This was not me plucking this out of thin air or wanting to exclude trans women. I've spoken to so many. I even spoke to charities, you know. So, yeah, I just wanted to clear it up and offer clarity on why I am doing this. And the real true meaning behind the Girl Spot and everything that will be going on inside. I know to many people, everyone thinks it's just a gym that will have, a treadmill or two and women can just come down. No, like, there are workshops, activations, events, classes that are so specific to feeling more equipped.
Chat says trans women didn't assault her. I think that's a part of the transphobia. That's why I'm telling you she's still transphobic. Oh, a man assaulted me, I'm going to ban trans women. So for her to say trans women are women, I believe that. But also, since a man assaulted me, I'm going to ban trans women. What do trans women have to do with a man assaulting you? What do they have to do with anything? And reminder that recently a mask or stud lesbian, depending on their identification, more mask lesbian, was arrested and kicked out of a bathroom because people believed she was trans. Remember, the transphobia hurts cis women. And that's why it's bullshit. If you want to defend and stand up for women, you can't be transphobic. I mean, you can, on a spectrum, ideally, you're not transphobic. But you know what I mean? Like, you can, you know, lots of people defend women even when they're being transphobic, but still, we should be more inclusive, you know? And it does hurt my heart because I feel for her. I can't discount her assault, but I also can't ignore the transphobia. I can't. It's just so exhausting. And right now, with trans people being under attack, I mean, literally targeted. This is not the time to take this stance, girl. This is not the time.
I'm partnering with women in safety charities that sell certain things like panic alarms, rape alarms, because I care so much about women's safety. So yeah, I just wanted to put this out there and like clear it up of sort, or just really dive into why I am doing this and why I've taken this stance. And like I said, everyone deserves a safe space. Trans women deserve a safe space, but it's just a really obviously tough realm to navigate as one single independent person.
Okay, now Chad just brought up a great point, so I have a TikTok for you. Hold on. TikTok chat says, if she's basing it on assigned sex at birth, does that mean she'd allow trans men there? I don't think so. So check this out. Whoa. Sorry, guys. I have to mute that. My bad. Also loud. I'm so sorry. This says POV, me training at Natalie B Fitness's gym since it's for biological women only. You can't hear it, but I'm dancing to the music. All right. Yo, okay. Anyways. Glorilla's so good, bro. Is that her name? The fuck trend. I love the fuck trend. Okay, now. This is the point, right? How is she gonna have this go through? Like, how is she going to implement this? How is she going to check people's IDs? Like, how do you even enforce a female-only gym or a biological women gym or a cis women gym? Like, how do you even enforce that, girl? How do you enforce it? And that's the dilemma. How are we expected to enforce this? I'm worried about trans people. I'm worried about all of us. But, and this is meant to be comforting, so hear it when I say this. You are living history, and this too shall pass. We are 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and though we're in the 2 steps back era, we will be 3 steps forward. And I need you to stay here so you can be there in the future with us. All right? Okay. Man. Chad says, do you think there is a difference between race and gender in situations like this? I'm not sure what that means. Do you want to elaborate? We're going to take a little break in a few seconds and then we'll continue on. I have some more vegan arguments I would like to go over with you because, again, I'm in the middle of my deconstruction of veganism. We're probably going to talk about it for a while on this channel as I go through a journey of introspection. Sorry, my stool underneath my table is making noise. But I want to share my journey with you. I think it'd be important, but there's a philosophical element to this conversation that I think is so important that I would like to have it with you. So I have a video that I'd like to show you guys and we can have a long conversation around it. Chad says the level of permissible transphobia in the UK is off the charts. Acceptable bigotry for a made up problem that just ends up policing women's bodies and narrowing what acceptable femininity is. Fucking men. Dude, that's poetry, bro. Poetry. Exactly. Chad says, are you still being vegan at the moment? So did you watch my vegan podcast? At the end of my vegan podcast, I basically laid out what relationship with food I'll be having. So I'm not following, I can't be vegan by definition as I am not being strictly vegan, but I am being like 99% vegan in a lot of the ways that I am. But I that's why the vegan conversation is going to be ongoing, because according to the strict vegans, veganism is a philosophy that has a belief. You have to believe in the veganism to be vegan. So basically, vegans would say I'm transphobic or I'm racist is what my understanding is. So like in the same way that Natalie, is exhibiting transphobia, they would say veganism is about being 100%. So I'm not a vegan. That's why vegans in my comment section were like, Brittany, that's like saying like, oh, I wasn't racist for 30 days, but now I'm racist. To vegans, it's kind of like you're saying you're pro women, but you won't let trans people in your gym. So they wouldn't consider me vegan. I'm not vegan, right? I'm not by definition vegan, which is fair. So, hey, what are you gonna do? So I get it. You know what I mean? Like Chad says you have to leave a carve out for the flaming hot Cheetos. I respect it. I mean, we're going to work on making our own vegan hot Cheetos, but I'm not going to play that if I'm visiting America that I might eat a bag or two, So I get it. I am really appreciative of the discussion that we had about veganism yesterday. Again, it's going to be a while for me to like deconstruct and really play with this. But we'll see, right? Chad says you can say you eat plant-based. Yeah, but like if my partner offers me a spoonful of beef, I'm going to eat it. So I don't know if that's accurate, right? Like I'm being very, I'm just being me. I'm eating what I want to eat within my value system, and I'm working on deconstructing why I eat, how I eat. And, I'm not sure what label fits that, but for now, I think I'm just doing what I think is good. I'm moving within my values. Being a part of the community feels a little bit too constraining. It's triggering my PDA a bit. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, I don't know what the rules are to these labels, so I'm just not going to pick one. But I'm really vibing with the way that I have a relationship with food. I made a really great vegan focused dish this morning for breakfast. I'm really happy with my recipes. Yeah, I'm like really excited to have this new relationship with food and to deconstruct why I eat meat or why I've eaten meat or why I'm taking a break from meat. Because the truth is like, I'm not purchasing meat for myself. I've never done that before. This is a very big change for me. So it's going to be exciting. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll watch some vegan content and I think we'll have a good conversation. Here's some Samantha Dragonati for your listening pleasure. Got it, girl. I got it. I got it. I'll be right back. All right, guys. Dun, dun. Da-na-na-na. Da-da-da. All right. We love to hear it. Thank you, Samantha Dragonati, for the gorgeous music. Really appreciate it. So my Discord sent this video to me, and I watched a lot of it. Hold on. Thank you. I watched a little bit by myself, and I thought, oh, there's some good conversation to be had here. This is Sadhguru, who I know can be controversial, who actually, I didn't add it into my podcast, but did do a pretty good job at getting through to Gordon Ramsay about possible vegetarianism, which I thought was kind of cute. Though controversial, also a celebrity guru. So you know, but there's some conversation to be had here that I think we can dissect as a community, which would be really fun. Chat is saying my boyfriend is asking if you can post that song in the Discord. Yes. Well, I can post. It's hold on. Yeah, let me get the literal link to the. I'll post it in the live stream chat. It's Little Snail Dance, original composition by Samantha Dragonati. I just posted it. Okay, so let's listen to Sadhguru have this conversation with this host about veganism and whether or not we should be vegan. Because there's a very big conversation to be had about survival mode and living mode, which, you know, I highly subscribe to myself. I'm not sure if I came up with it myself so much as like we all talk about it in this way. Like I call it, you know, it's hard to know what to credit yourself for when there's no original ideas. But this is the first time I've heard this conversation to be had around veganism that I was already thinking about during my deconstruction, which is, you know, there are allowances I give myself when I'm in survival mode that I don't give myself while I'm in living mode. So in survival mode, right? And this is why I asked the vegans, in survival mode, are you allowed to eat meat? Is this an allowance? Because in survival mode, as an example, like I think you should be able to lie if it's for your safety, right? But I think in living mode, you shouldn't be lying. What are we lying for? And the idea is the level to survivability. Like this is my survival is on the line to I'm feeling safe. So like coming out as trans to people in survival mode is a threat to your life in a lot of situations. You can't just be coming out trans. You know what I mean? So if you lie about being trans, right? Like that's not my business. But if you're in living mode and you're in a privileged position, you're like in a safe community of queer people and you lie about being trans, that feels like, why would you do that? Why would you lie about a part of you, right? That doesn't make any sense. So that can feel like a threat. You know, so when it comes to veganism, are you allowed to in survival mode eat meat? And then are you not? Now, again, coming back from yesterday's conversation, in survival mode, right? There isn't a reason to rape somebody in survival mode. That's why, not that I believe in objective morality, but the closest to Brittany's values that argues for objectivity is what situation in survival mode allows for rape, right? So that's like kind of a difference of example that I would use is like in survival mode, rape is not acceptable. In living mode, rape, not acceptable. In survival mode, stealing food, acceptable. In living mode, stealing food, not acceptable. Okay, because you know what I'm saying? So we're having different conversations about context and what is allowed. So Sadhguru kind of covers that in this conversation. So let's talk about it. Should we be vegan is the conversation.
It's a good, okay, I'm not a vegan. I should be because I have a chicken egg intolerance. But then there's a whole different problem with vegan lifestyle, right? Not vegan lifestyle, but the farming of the soy and all that stuff. What's your opinion about that?
See, at this point, I'm pitching for soil policy in every nation.
Sadhguru's pet project is about soil. He's even been on Joe Rogan to talk about soil and how badly we treat soil and how poisoned our soil is.
I'm not here to tell anybody what they should eat, because people can eat what is best for them. Now, people might have, or nations or cultures might have arrived at a certain type of food because at a certain time, survival was the issue. When survival was the issue, we made certain choices. Now that survival is not the issue, definitely we should make wiser and better choices. When I say wiser and better, this is not my recommendation, it's for you to experiment. See, food means it is the fuel for this body. So if you eat something, it should energize you. You take your car to the gas station or I take my motorcycle to the gas station, if I fill the tank, the motorcycle doesn't become lazy, boom, it'll go. But right now you're putting that kind of food into the system, if you put it, now you have to put coffee, tea, coke, something, one poison after another to get it going. So there must be something not great about the food that we're eating. So how to eat, what is the ideal food for this body? See, food is not a philosophy, food is not a religion, food is a practical solution for this body. In my way of…
Chat says, I was about to ask your feelings on soil being alive that you mentioned recently came from Sadhguru. My theory about everything being live comes from Pocahontas as a child. Every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. I think everything is alive. And it came from a Disney movie when I was a child. Everything is living. Everything is a part of this biological experience. So I don't watch Sadhguru enough to even like articulate a lot of his points to everybody, but I understand enough of him because I've seen enough. But there are things we overlap on. But all of my ideas around my own life comes from everything that I've ever read and experienced. But specifically, the idea of everything being alive comes from Pocahontas. Because, you know, I really do believe that. I was hiking with my friends in Arizona, and Arizona in the mountains has beautiful boulders. And I was like, look at this boulder. Ooh, I wonder what stories it could tell me. And my friend's like, none of them. It's a boulder. I was like, no. This boulder is like a fly on the wall. And I was like hugging the boulder. I was like, this boulder has a life. And I was like, this boulder is the witness. Rock is the ultimate viewer, observer of humanity. Now, in a grounded sense, I understand rocks don't technically have like sentience, but in a spiritual sense, rocks, they have been around through everything. And there's something really beautiful about that idea of this rock has seen millions of years of change and growth. Like there are parts in Arizona where it used to be underwater because, you know, there was like the earth has been underwater before, and you'll see it in these big, beautiful, just huge. Like if you go through the reservations, there's a lot of Native Americans in Arizona, and they have beautiful, just like you move through the most beautiful rocks you've ever seen in your whole life. You know what I mean? Just beautiful. Discord shared the Everything Everywhere All at Once rock, and then YouTube chat said, unless we're talking about the rocks that have been through everything everywhere all at once. Love that. We're all on the same page. But yeah, oh, I love me a rock.
Looking at life. See, once you have come here as a human being, well, survival is not good enough. When survival is in question, well, it's a big deal. But once survival is taken care of, it doesn't mean anything. Something more needs to happen. Maybe people have never figured out what is that something more, but something more and something more needs to happen.
So this is where I do believe my obligation, I think this is what my levels represent. I really want to redo my levels video to make it more, just a different way to say the same thing really. But when I think of the levels, I think about, and this is why I say like they're doing the best they can. I think humans universally are doing the best they can at all times, because I think they're only doing what they're capable of. And the question is, why can't they do better? Because as much as we think they're capable of it, they're not. Because a human being who is capable of doing better does. And when they don't, it's because they can't. And there is a harm to that to some extent. The reason why ignorance is so harmful, the reason why stagnation can be harmful, and the reason why the masses take longer to move forward than the individuals is because you have to wait for everyone to catch up when you're a group. But when you're a singular person, you're allowed to move out of survival mode faster than a community can. Communities stay longer in survival mode because you're working as fast as the slowest people in the race. Now, if I was a ruthless capitalist utilitarian, I would say the slowest people don't matter, destroy them. But because I'm a compassionate person, I recognize that we're limited by our biological experience. And this is maybe moving off of Robert Sapolsky's work. And because of that limitation in our relationship to self, it means somebody has to be the slowest person. But that means the strongest people can help pull them up. Or as a community, we can move together. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of them. It just means we have to teach them to adapt. We have to give them the tools that we learned. I mean, one of my goals as a content creator is to give you tools. It's to say something today that in 4 years you go, oh shit, I finally got what Brittany was saying. It's a tool that I want to give you in your arsenal, a tool that helped me on my journey. And it has helped me to deconstruct. It has helped me to be more compassionate. I've become a less violent, less like fatphobic, transphobic, homophobic, whatever, like name the phobics. I've become less whatever my issue was as I've gotten more introspective, because I have realized with great compassion that the world suffers because of the way that they are. And the change is individual. And the change happens because of community. And the change happens when it's ready, not when we want it to be. Human beings change when they're ready to hatch, not beforehand. And it's that patience that is so scary. How do I remain joyful in a world in which I feel like they're not moving fast enough? It's not my business if people are moving fast enough. It's my business to point out that people aren't moving fast enough, so don't wait for them. Don't wait for them. If you keep waiting for them, you will not live a joyful life. So once I stopped waiting for people to get it together, my life became better. I still include them in my thoughts. I still include them in my activism. I still include them in my journey. I just don't wait for them. My joy isn't predicated on them catching up. But we are taught to hold off on our joy for other people. We are taught as mothers, as parents, as fathers, as siblings, as, parentified teenagers to put our joy secondary to the people who haven't caught up to their own. And I just don't want you to do that. So veganism is one of those journeys for me where, because I am in a privileged position, I'm in living mode. I'm not in survival mode anymore. We all live paycheck to paycheck, but I am not in survival mode. I was just telling my partner, you should have seen how stressed I was when I was making $20K a year. I was dying. I was in the worst state of my life. That was survival mode. Survival mode was when I was making $20K. Funny enough, I was less in survival mode when I was making $15K a year or $12K a year, because survival mode wasn't about the money. It was about where I was. So for Brittany's brain, when I was working at the grocery store and working YouTube part-time during that era of my life, I call it my 20K a year era. I was the worst I had ever been. And as I got healthier, and even if I made less money, I was better off, but I also had community. The point is that I think as I go on this deconstruction journey, the reason veganism is interesting to me, for my own sake, not for the community's sake, I do not like communities of people for this reason, because the bubbles are limited by community. So if I'm a vegan by identity and I'm in the vegan community, I'm moving as slowly as the slowest vegan, as the most militant vegan. And I don't want to do that, right? But as me, as a Brittany, looking at that philosophy, there is something about it that appeals to me from that living perspective the Sadhguru is talking about. I am in a position to harm reduce in a way that is pretty easy for me. Why don't I do it? That's a good question. Now, again, like I said, I might not identify as vegan at any time in my life because I don't want the scrutiny of the community. I don't want to have to live up to some community standard. Again, as a gay person, there is no standard. I just have to be gay. Well, congratulations. Ding, ding, ding. But as a vegan, it feels like there's a standard and I don't want you in my business. Thank you. But even if I live a completely vegan life, it might be better. So I'm very open to living a vegan life without identifying with the vegan word. Because again, I don't need you in my business. And vegans really be in your business,
In search of that something more, we're turning the planet upside down. That's all that's happening. In pursuit of human happiness and well-being, this is happening. So, this aspect of what should I eat should never be approached philosophically or through religious beliefs. You must experiment and see what makes you very agile and alert. Right now, 51 million square kilometers of land is being used for agriculture on this planet, out of which 40 million square kilometers of land is used to raise animals and their feed. Please, does it sink into you? 77% of the agricultural lands are mainly used either for raising animals or their feed, okay?
It's not easy. When I watched the documentaries, I finally got it. I think the visuals helped. It really changed my brain. I was like, oh, wait, why are we doing that? That's so inefficient. Why are we doing that? He's saying it. He's like, do you get it? But no, it's like I know it logically, but I was like an embodied experience, this journey around, where I was like, wait, why are we doing that? That is so inefficient. It's so unnecessary. And that's the thing is I finally, for the first time in my life, it hit me. Where I was like, oh, I'm getting it. It finally hit me. I couldn't do it before. I wasn't ready to hear it. I wasn't ready to process it embodied. But now that it's embodied, I was like, oh, yeah, we should do something about that. We are making a mistake.
And leave the ecological concerns. Every doctor in the world is telling you with red meat, your healthcare bills are…
Chat says, maybe because I don't roll in those circles like that. It's always non-vegans that give me a hard time about my desire to be healthy, and it helping everyone and everything else shouldn't be a hot take. Let me tell you this, meat eaters through this process, the reason I didn't really address meat eaters in my vegan podcast is because they are some of the most, in my opinion, vile humans when it comes to arguing veganism. They are so deeply cruel about, like, if you are threatened by a vegan, I'm not talking to you. If you are offended that somebody is vegan, I'm not talking to you. And it's not funny when people in my chat, like, in any way are serious when they're like, I really hope you don't go vegan. If you have the audacity to say to somebody, I really hope you don't go vegan, don't talk to me. And if you say this joke, like, put a laugh emoji at the end. But, like, you know, if you're serious, like, oh, I really hope you don't go vegan, I'm not talking to you. It's none of your business if I go vegan. So that's why meat eaters weren't addressed in my podcast, because they are vile on the internet, especially. But I do not, like, you are not even slightly interested in efficiency. I am solution based. And like Sadhguru said, why are we raising all this livestock? Why are we using all of this land to feed animals we're going to slaughter? What are we doing? And that's the problem with meat eaters. They have the audacity to be like, what do you mean you want to take away my meat? Instead of thinking, hey, should we do this better? I am a solution-based person. And if we can do it better, we probably should, you know?
Are as high as they are mainly because of what you're eating. The headquarters for most of your chronic ailments is in your stomach. Yes. It's also slowly shifting to your head, that's another matter. But most of the ailments are because of the way we're eating and what we're eating.
And by the way, the only reason I said earlier about the vegans is because my comment sections were full of vegans who were like, you didn't go vegan for 30 days, Brittany, you went plant-based, or like they're communicating to me that there's a standard, and I don't want to offend the community, and I obviously am not a part of the community. But more than that, like, I don't want to be a part of any community that holds people to a specifically strict standard that doesn't mesh with like how I think human beings work. Like, I can't guarantee you I'd be vegan in 20 years. I don't know. Because, like, are you vegan if you eat lab-grown meat? I don't know what the rules are. That's what I'm saying. That's the only reason I'm saying that. Is like, I'm not trying to offend vegans, but I don't understand their point of recruitment, if you know what I mean. Like I said, the Muslims are doing great during Ramadan right now. Excited that Ramadan has become a trend so people can, like, see how cool it is, you know what I mean, to fast and be disciplined and do all these things. I feel like vegans are really losing out on recruitment here. They should be excited for 30-day challenges. Hello.
So, one aspect of this is, you don't have an animal at home and you're not going to slaughter it and eat fresh meat. It is processed, it's kept somewhere.
Okay, chat says my biggest issue with veganism, and as somebody with a degree in nutrition, is that our brains are full of omega-3s and we can't get that necessarily from the amount of them. Anything other than fish. Well, that's why I don't think veganism is objective, but veganism is appropriate for people in living mode. If we are in a modern time where we don't have to eat animals and we can take supplements, it doesn't make any sense not to take supplements, right? Like, take supplements. It is better than, you know, killing. The way we farm fish, we are destroying the oceans. We are not going to have fish. You want omega-3s? You better stop fucking fish farming. We're not even going to have fish. Like, that's what I'm saying. We are not going to have fish. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we are this whole thing of like, veganism is also going to help you have fish. Like, the meat eaters are threatening the life of the ocean right now. So I'm concerned for meat eaters too. Meat eaters about to learn really hard that their gluttony is killing any chance of having this lifestyle in 100 years. Okay? So just survival mode, maybe I'm in a wood and I need to eat a fish from a river, I'm eating that fish. Living mode, where I don't have to eat the fish, I'm not going to eat the fish. Right? That's the conversation I want to have with you. When we're in survival mode, we do what we have to do. When we're in living mode, we have options. Pick the option that allows for the harm reduction if possible, right?
1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, many of them 3 months later you're eating.
Chad says, I can't agree with that. We should get all our nutrients from the food we eat, not supplements. That's dystopian. I think I radically accept that we're animals on a planet. And it is natural for us to create these systems in which we can get what we need in lab-grown meat or vitamins or supplements. Like, thinking that science is dystopian is just because every book you've ever read about it used it to abuse it. If you don't abuse the science, it's not dystopian. It's a fucking goddamn miracle. Okay? It's a fucking goddamn motherfucking miracle. You're welcome. God didn't do this shit. We did. You're welcome. Okay? So if we don't abuse these systems, if we are smart with the way we use science, we are just living in the greatest, most amazing time to be a person. If you want to go back to farming your own food and doing all of that shit, you're probably not going to get everything you need either, because you actually need to know what you're doing. And I sure as fuck don't know what I'm doing. Okay, girl? So again, this whole idea that we should get everything we need from food, meat eaters aren't even getting that. So many meat feeders are they're so deficient in things they need. America is dying from cancer and nobody is willing to have this. Millennials, colon cancer is on the rise, y'all. It's on the rise. We need to have conversations about that and why that is. Okay? At the end of the day, every industry is exploited by greedy fucking capitalists and greedy fucking people. Fuck them. Focus on what's healthy within those fucked up systems. I don't care what the fucked up people are doing. I care about how to help our communities. Okay? We need to figure it out. There are ways to figure it out. You're an animal on the planet. You can figure it out if you want to. But I feel like we're in denial of wanting to do it because it doesn't fit our narrative. Pop the bubble of your narrative and see what's true. That's what I'm saying.
This will cause enormous amount of trouble.
Chia seeds have high omega-3 content too. Thank you, chat. Thank you. It's the same thing with B12. You can get B12 from food. If you eat seaweed, like a nut, like the snack seaweed, like there's another name for it. If you eat the seaweed, you'll get enough B12. You don't need to take B12 supplements. You can get that's nori. Thank you, nori. Thank you, chat. If you eat nori, you can get your B12 met. That's why when people say like you can't get your nutrients on a vegan diet, that's just not true. You know? Like you can get the things you need, you just got to figure out what it is, you know?
The human body. I will not go into the details, gory details of that, but…
And again, I'm not a nutritionist or a scientist, so I'm relying on people who are open. See, here's the thing. I don't want scientists who are not open to veganism to give me advice. But if you look at the vegan doctors that are doing these studies and that are interested, they have results that give them good and bad news. Like I watch so many vegan documentaries and they're like, well, here's the result. It's not that much of a change, so maybe it doesn't matter there. But hey, look at this category, huge changes. It's like, I want an openness. I have to have faith in humans, that some humans doing this research aren't backed by big business, right? There has to be, and there are studies coming out. We're still figuring it out. And like the fact that we're still figuring out is my point. We are figuring it out. And I want people to be open to figuring it out. Right now, if you talk to an anti-vegan, they're not even interested in figuring out how to be healthy on a vegan diet. They're ruthlessly anti the research. I'm not interested in talking to those people. I want to know if it's possible because I think we're humans. We've done great things. We can do it. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's do it. I don't want to talk about, oh, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if this can be done. I want to know if we can. We're giving up so fast. Why are we giving up?
Some other day I'll come here just to talk about food. That day we will do that. But I'm saying if everybody consumes 50% less meat consumption, 20 million square kilometers of land will be free. If at least 40% of your diet comes from trees, well, in temperate climates, you have only fruits. In tropical climates, we have both fruits and vegetables which come from trees. So if 40% of your diet comes from trees, you will see your healthcare bills will come down minimum by 50 to 70% of the nation and of the individual. Right now, for example, the most affluent nation on the planet, United States.
And the United States have said we need vegetables and fruits in our diet. And we're not incorporating it, myself included. I have, and I do struggle incorporating a lot of fruits into my diet. Vegetables are easy. I love vegetables, but I do struggle with fruits. And so I have to be very intentional about buying fruit. But it's necessary. Colon cancer is on the rise for lots of reasons. Some people say it could be fiber related because we're so missing fiber, right?
spends $3.2 or $3.25 trillion as healthcare for 350 million people. India's economy is not yet that much, it's somewhere close to that, but for 1.3 billion people. So why is it… See,
Chat says, you guys are talking about if nori is expensive. I do find seaweed and nori to be expensive because if you're paying $3 for like 10 sheets, which is usually where I see it for, like, that's too much, dude. So it would be like a treat, but it would be a focused food. I do think that's too much. But then I don't know what it takes to harvest it, so maybe it's not too much. But in Croatia, I think it's like too much for my budget. But I will say that it's really good. It's really delicious, but I think it's too expensive personally, you know, but it's so delicious.
Affluence means this. Why does an individual person seek affluence, or why does a society seek affluence? Initially, it is a question of nourishment. So let us say you're earning only 10 euros per day. I know you don't, but I'm just saying. You're earning 10 euros per day and you're eating just whatever meager meals that were there. Then your dream is, if I earn…
So as an example, I use €50 a week to buy my food, and so it's less than $10 a day for all of my food intake for the week. I spend €50 a week to feed myself. Now, of course, if I needed more calories or I needed more food or I needed something, you know, we never starve ourselves for a budget. And the budget is minimal. One day the budget will be $100 a week for food or whatever, but we're not there yet as a family. Like we went down to the lowest amount possible to meet our financial goals in order to get all the nutrition we needed. That's our focus, right? So, you know, we haven't gone to a restaurant in a while, or maybe if we do, we put it in our food budget. We put restaurants in our regular food budget. So if we eat out, it has to go into our regular food budget right now. We don't have a separate budget for restaurants. That is in the food budget. And a restaurant's like 10 to 15 euro. And that's too much of my budget, you know, you better be getting me something good, you know, like there's something to be said about how you spend the money, but you can do it off little. You just have to know how to make it work. And that's the thing is like, we are not taught how to spend money. We're not taught how to, you know, buy stuff. We're not taught how to do things, you know. Chet says 10 or 15 total or per person? Usually per person. If we go out to like a burger place or a mid restaurant, not an expensive restaurant, just like a regular, Croatia is different. The budget's going to be different. So it's cheaper compared to American restaurants, but it's still too expensive right now with the budget. But that's fine too. If you're on a budget like I am, that's great. Like $200 a month for food budget and we make it work. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's about realizing that it's temporary. And it's always about, like, again, we're not in survival mode. So this is a completely living, privileged position that we are on that budget because we want to make some financial goals. We want to be retired. That'd be nice. I'd like to retire by 80. You know, so we're trying to make sure we have those things in place. But you first have to learn how to shop and how to buy things and what's the cheapest thing to get. And you know what I mean? Chet says, so it's a €50 food budget or €50 grocery budget? Yes, food and grocery budget. Food and grocery. Anything I eat is in that budget. Snacks, no splurging like on certain drinks. Certain drinks go into a drink category. But like, and then there's household items. So shampoos, conditioners, cleaning items are in a household budget. Drink budget, so like sodas, juices and stuff. Coffee, that goes into like a household budget because those are like, you know, but no splurging, like no buying 20 Monsters for the week or no buying 20 Pepsis or no buying like 20, you know, no overbuying, no drinking, you know, 1 gallon of oat milk a day because I want to. It's like, nope, I budget in my oat milk for my coffee. I budget how much oat milk I get a week. I budget everything. And it's working great. Like we're doing great. And the vegan diet, honestly, like it's saving me money for sure. You know, our vegan vegetarian diet, it's like saving me money for sure.
Earn 20 euros per day, I can eat better. This is an aspiration within the human being. So initially, it is a question of better nourishment. Later, it is a question of variety of lifestyles that people choose. This is why affluence is sought after both by individuals, societies and nations.
True.
So
Chet says, do you track it on an app or a notebook or something? I'm looking for more budget control. We have a budget notebook. My partner does all of it. mostly because all the receipts are in Croatian. So when we go to the store, we bring our receipt home, we put it in a Ziploc bag or some sort of container. We have got to stop using Ziploc bags. That's another thing. We're trying to minimize our like plastic intake and all that stuff. It's all a journey, you know, but we put it in a container and we keep it for the week. And he writes down in the notebook in a budget sheet. So he does the budget in that way. He tracks everything. I always say, like, how much should I spend today? What's my budget? How much do I have left over? So as an example, I'll go to the store and I'll say how much is left in my budget. And he'll either tell me or I'll look and let's say it's 14 euro. I'll say, okay, I have to go to the store and I have to spend less than 14 euro. And remember that in Europe, in Croatia, there's no like extra cost when you get to the register. What you see on your items is the price. So if I need to spend 14 euro, I can budget that a lot easier while I'm shopping because I don't have to get to the register and worry that, oh, it's going to be more than I thought because of tax. It's what it is on the label. And so it's easier for me to shop while I'm at the store. And then I do the same thing. I bring home my receipts or, you know, all that stuff. Chet says there's no VAT on food, or is the VAT included? The VAT's included. Everything is included in the price.
The most affluent nation on the planet, which has a whole variety of choices of nourishment and enormous choices about lifestyle, spends $3.25 trillion on healthcare for 350 million people. That is a statement on what you're eating.
It is. It's true. I think that's what's crazy about Americans is they're like, it's our food, it's our food, it's our food. And I'm like, yeah, what about the meat you're eating? And they're like, no. It's not that. And I'm like, okay. Like Americans will scream at the top of their lungs, it's our food, they're killing us with poison. But the moment you suggest it could be the meat, they're like, how dare you? It's like, that's what I'm saying. I am so open-minded to whatever it is. Maybe it's the thing that I'm using. Maybe it's the thing that I'm having. The problem is they'll say, well, then why aren't you open-minded to the fact that being gay might be wrong? Okay, we've already gone there, girl. We've already done the research. We're moving on from that one now. The thing is, we haven't researched the meat. We haven't had open conversations about it. We haven't had these conversations about the way that we farm and the way we treat the soil and all the ways we impact the communities. One thing I didn't talk about in my vegan podcast that came up in the documentary series that I had seen was what happens to neighborhoods when farms are nearby. Like a pig farm was featured in one of the videos where they had this pig farm that smelled horrible for all the neighbors nearby, and the sprinklers would go off and the feces would fly onto the neighbors' homes and their clothing lines. People who had been there their whole life, right, in these neighborhoods. My parents' neighborhood, not my parents' neighborhood, but about 30 minutes from my parents' neighborhood in California, there's this like infamous section that we all have to drive through when we're traveling into town, where we pass a cow farm and we have to close our air condition, close the windows, don't let any air in the car because the smell from the cow farm is disgusting. It's truly abhorrent. It's just horrible, right? And that's the kind of impact on a community that we have to pay attention to. That's the kind of that's what I am curious about. I am not so focused on sentient life versus non-sentient life. I am focused on quality of life for everybody. When we talk quality of life, where is the quality of life to have, sitting out on your deck be a threat to your health because feces are flying through the air? Where is the quality of life in that? That's not a quality of life. How am I going to drink my iced tea in my rocking chair when there's feces flying through the air? Where is the quality of life when we don't focus on smog control? Where is the quality of life when we're talking about emissions? Where is the quality of life in that? I want a quality of life. Okay, it's why hedonism is one of my greatest fears, because hedonists do not live a quality life. I don't like gluttony because there's no quality of life in that. I want a quality of life. And I don't think there is quality of life in the way that we do farming right now, in the way that we treat the earth and in the way that we treat these animals. Any thoughts, comments, ideas? What do you guys think? Chad says you can get used to the smell, honestly. Agree to disagree. Okay. Chad says, Brittany, I feel like the book Braiding Sweetgrass would be up your alley. Natural life as viewed through a Native American biologist lens. Holy fact, Brittany. Thank you. I will write that down. Brittany trying to pronounce words. Braiding Sweet Grass. Cool name. I will write that down. I know you can get, chat, I'm reading your chat. I know you can get used to smells every day, but it's not about that. Do you know what I mean? It's not about that. We can all get used to smells in the way we can get used to abuse. I don't want that for you. That's the point of my conversation. Mentioning it like people can just get used to it while ignoring the fact that I said like feces are moving through the air and landing on people's clothes feels dismissive of the conversation. Oh, I was responding to somebody else who said it. Okay, never mind. My bad, chat. Sometimes I just read you and I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else. Okay, now, if I'm going to be so transparent with you, that's what I had planned for today's show. And we moved through that in less than like 3 hours. I don't know how we did that. Stream doesn't usually last or move that quickly, but we moved through all of those stories very quickly. And that's all I really had planned for you today. So now I'm thinking I should end stream and go record Love is Blind so I can get a new episode up for you guys tomorrow. I feel like that's a good plan. 2 birds, 1 stone. And then I have plenty of things to go over with you tomorrow that just don't fit the theme of today. So let's do that. Please have a great day. And I will see you tomorrow. Because apparently we efficient up in here. We're so efficient today, guys. I love that for us. All right. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow.